These 7 biggest parenting mistakes can cause strife, heartache, and fractured relationships with our children. I'm Marisa from Call It to Mothering, and I encourage and equip moms who are raising toddlers to teens. In today's video, I'm sharing the most prevalent errors parents often make and how to steer clear of them. Number 1, protecting them from consequences. As parents, we don't want our kids to fail or experience hurt, and we don't want to come across as mean. But sparing them the temporary pain of discipline doesn't do us or them any favors. We need to think long term. Your 4-year-old daughter's sassiness, which is easy to overlook now, won't be so cute coming from her when she's 14. And trust me that when your son becomes a teenager and is taller and stronger than you, you'll be glad that you taught him to respect you when he was a little boy. Doling out consequences to your kids teaches them responsibility and gives them the boundaries and security that they need. When we don't discipline them, our kids learn that we are not in authority. They end up calling the shots in our homes, which actually leads to them feeling insecure and then actually resenting us because we weren't the grown-up that they needed. Number 2, focusing on rules and outward behavior instead of relationship. Sometimes, wanting to avoid permissive parenting, we run off into the other ditch of being authoritarian. If I just gave my kids a list of goals that dictated what their behavior should be, without consideration of their hearts, this would produce death instead of life in my relationships with them. They would never flourish in this kind of relationship, always feeling like they could never please me. Seeing themselves as a disappointment, they'd eventually just give up. Our goal as parents needs to be to capture the hearts of our kids, not to always be right and the one with all the power. It is pointless if our children always complied with everything we asked of them when their hearts are hard and rebellious and far from us. Don't just issue consequences when necessary. Use that time to teach them right from wrong and inspire them to do better. Number 3, not being intentional with them. We are busy and we are distracted, especially in this day and age. It can be easy to let our schedules and to-do lists dictate our lives and just parent on autopilot. But it is so important to be intentional and carve out that time where we are actively listening to and engaging with our children. While your kids are still little, you want to take a good, hard look at your relationships with them and ask yourself, do I truly have the heart of each of my children? Right now, while they're little, it's easy for them to look at us and think that we hung the moon. We may not have to put in a lot of effort for them to feel close to us. But as they get older, this tends to change. But time plus affirmation over a long period equals influence. If we aren't purposefully pursuing our kids in specific, tangible ways, they will eventually gravitate toward others who give them what they're longing for most. Yes, there will be the pull of social media and technology and peers, and possibly unsafe behaviors. But if we are investing in our relationships with our kids daily and not just coasting in our parenting, these things won't be nearly as appealing to them when they get older. Number 4, giving them a ton of freedom when they're little, but then restricting it when they're teens. Many people parent this way. Neglecting to address behavior issues and set firm but loving boundaries when their kids are young, and then trying to enforce rules later when they are preteens and teenagers, instead of this way. Restricting freedom when they're little and doing the hard work of consistently addressing disrespect and disobedience and issuing consequences for their actions, then allowing them to have more control as they get older and have proved they are responsible. Ideally, what you want to do when they're older is guide them and course correct. At this stage, you are pointing them back to the boundaries you've already set and trusting that these will lead them to make good decisions. In fact, you set the foundation for a close and enjoyable relationship with your preteens and teens by disciplining them when they are younger. Number 5, trying to keep them happy. We want to be our kids' cheerleaders and build their self-esteem. Anytime we see them upset, we often want to make it all okay. That's pretty natural as parents. But often we do more harm than good when we distract our children from their feelings, whether it's disappointment, sadness, boredom, or frustration. What we actually do is make them very unhappy. If we are always swooping in to regulate their emotions, our kids don't learn how to do it themselves. This causes our children to become uncomfortable with and anxious about big feelings because we aren't giving them the chance to actually process and work through these. They end up having to control external factors around them in order to calm themselves down or deal with stress. And they grow up needing a distraction of some kind to avoid feeling anything uncomfortable. They may also start to think we don't really care how they feel when we're always saying dismissive things like, "Oh, that's okay, you'll do better next time," or "I'm sure it wasn't bad as all that." While we definitely shouldn't tell them to just suck it up either, we need to acknowledge our children's disappointments, fears, and sadness, and let them feel those things, even if it hurts in the short term. By the way, if you find this content helpful, like this video and be sure to subscribe for more parenting tips. Number 6, making everything equal. This can be tricky because we want to teach our kids to share and be generous with what they have. We breed a sense of entitlement, though, when we try to make siblings get exactly the same amount of everything, so no one feels left out or gets their feelings hurt. If we insist that one child split a prize they earned with their brother or sister for the sake of fairness, we're teaching all of them that hard work isn't necessary. They will keep expecting to receive something even if they didn't put in the effort. We're also missing a key opportunity to teach the disappointed child how to be content and glad for their sibling. In real life, things aren't always fair, and you don't get a trophy just for showing up. And the last mistake is talking negatively to or about them. It's innocent enough. A friend meets our daughter for the first time, and when she doesn't say anything back, we tell the adult, "Oh, she's just shy." Or a relative comes for a visit and tries to hug your son, but he doesn't reciprocate. So you tell Aunt Margaret, "Oh, he's just not a hugger." Without meaning to, by explaining our children's behavior to outsiders, we have, in fact, labeled them. If your kids hear these labels often enough, they become self-fulfilling. Sometimes in moments of sheer frustration, we end up venting about them to friends or our husband within their earshot. Or we don't speak to them with the same respect we command because we perceive them as just, being children after all. But your voice, positive or negative, will be internalized by your children for the rest of their lives. We need to speak life over our children and say affirming things about them to others and to them directly. Avoiding each of these mistakes will ensure strong, healthy relationships with your kids and help foster a nurturing and supportive environment for them. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, you are not just a mom.